her own blood. She had instinctively assumed they had come to drag her back into war. After all, to the entire Uchiha clan, she had always been nothing more than a tool to be used. Those seals may have frozen the flow of time and space, but they could not rob her of consciousness. She had no idea how many days and nights she'd spent imprisoned. All she knew was that this endless emptiness and torment felt longer than life itself. In the depths of that endless solitude, she gradually understood. If she wanted freedom, if she wished to live as a person once more, she would have to fight for herself. She had long made up her mind. If ever she escaped that cage, the first thing she'd cast off would be the shackle known as the Uchiha clan. That was why she'd lashed out without warning. "Weren't you releasing me just for war?" she asked in a daze. Kamiyu gave a little shrug. "The war you're talking about is long over. Now, except for Lord Madara and me, all the other Uchiha have surrendered and blended into a place called Konoha Village. They'll just fade away, little by little." Madara stepped forward, looking down at the two of them from above, and declared, "Uchiha Hikari, as clan leader, I declare that from this day forward, you are no longer a weapon. You're free to live as yourself." Kamiyu glanced at Uchiha Hikari, a trace of helplessness and frustration in his eyes. The memory of being engulfed by Amaterasu's flames still lingered, had it not been for his unique ocular powers, he would have been reduced to ash. The heat of that fire was terrifying. Even the power to reverse time couldn't erase the pain. Madara waved a hand. "Kamiyu, let her up." Kamiyu hesitated. "Are you sure she won't attack us again?" "Don't worry. She can't," Madara replied, his tone calm and unwavering, the confidence of a true master. "Understood, Lord Madara." At that, Kamiyu stepped aside, giving Uchiha Hikari room to rise. Madara looked down at Uchiha Hikari, his voice low but clear, each word cutting into her consciousness. "What Shinyu said just now is true. But there's one thing. The war hasn't truly ended. For the ninja world, peace is only temporary. We're still far from the world I envision. A world of ideals." Guang softly repeated those words. "The reason we chose to set you free is because we acknowledge your strength. On the path toward our ideals, you can walk alongside us, not as a weapon, but as a comrade." Madara's tone softened a little. "Of course, you are free to leave if you wish, to live the life you truly want." "Huh?" Shinyu was taken aback, glancing at Madara in bewilderment. "But you must face reality. Until we succeed, this remains a false world, still filled with disappointment." With those words, Madara turned and walked away without the slightest hesitation. A wave of disappointment washed over Shinyu. The light he had fought so hard to unleash was dismissed by Madara with such ease. He looked back at Uchiha Guang for a moment, hesitating, but in the end he could only follow after Madara, leaving her standing there alone. Does Lord Madara truly not care about Uchiha Guang? Or is he just trying to win her over with his own charisma? Shinyu furrowed his brow, pondering in silence. Uchiha Guang stood rooted to the spot, dazed for a long while before she finally came to herself. Watching the two figures recede into the distance, she suddenly started forward, breaking into a run to catch up. "She's really following us." Shinyu sidled up to Madara, whispering, "Should we wait for her?" "No need." Madara remained calm, as ever. "Since she's chosen to follow, she'll see it through to the end. If she can't even manage that, she's not worthy of bearing the Uchiha name." "Maybe she's just trying to catch up and ask for directions," Shinyu thought to himself, not daring to say it out loud. The two quickened their pace along a tree-lined path, soon arriving at a small town. Shinyu picked out an izakaya. "Lord Madara, let's take a break here." Madara nodded in agreement, and the two of them entered, choosing a table near the inner hall. When the waiter handed over the menu, Shinyu didn't hold back, ordering several dishes. Ramen, sushi, simmered sea bream, chikuzanai, and a steaming hot pot of sukiyaki. He hadn't eaten much of anything since last night. While waiting for the food, Shinyu hesitated, then reached into his cloak and pulled out 2 scrolls, handing them to Madara. "Lord Madara, I picked these up yesterday in the secret room of the Hokage's mansion. I'm not sure what's inside, but the seals on them are rather tricky." Madara took the scrolls, a faint blue glow flickering at his fingertips as he effortlessly undid the seals. "Spirit transformation technique?" He glanced through one, then opened the other. "This is the 8 gates released formation." With a probing look, he regarded Shinyu. "Both are S-class forbidden jutsu. You certainly have a knack for picking up dangerous things on the fly." "Lord Madara, you know me well." Shinyu straightened his back and declared with conviction, "Only a fool would pass up a bargain." Madara said nothing more, simply tossing the scroll back to Shinyu. "Now that you have it, it's time you learned how to use it." Lord Madara, aren't you interested in practicing these forbidden techniques yourself?" Shinyu asked cautiously, half expecting Madara to be drawn to such secrets. I have no need for them, Madara replied calmly. That book on spirit transmutation is quite effective for honing mental strength. You should look into it. The power of the eyes is directly tied to the mind, and that, in turn, is inseparable from N release. Shinyu nodded thoughtfully. All his life, he fought purely on instinct. He'd never received formal training or guidance. Most of his skills in ninjutsu were picked up from comrades on the battlefield. Within his limited understanding, he only knew that ocular power was a force channeled through the eyes, deeply entwined with N release. For those blessed with special bloodlines, the strength of their ocular abilities often determined the potency of their techniques. Meanwhile, the force of N release was directly proportional to the strength of one's mind. Madara watched his half-comprehending expression for a moment before asking, "Do you know what chakra truly is?" "That much I know," Shinyu replied. Chakra is the perfect fusion of spiritual and physical energy. Spiritual energy represents N, and physical energy stands for Yang. Different ratios of N and Yang give rise to chakra's 7 nature transformations, mirroring the principle that all things are born from the union of N and Yang. "Very good," Madara said, nodding with satisfaction. Shinyu managed a faint smile. He'd learned these lessons on the battlefield from an uncle who seemed cold on the outside, but was gentle at heart. Sadly, that man had later fallen during a Senju clan raid. Remembering this, Shinyu's smile dimmed. Madara seemed not to notice and continued. Among chakra's properties, wind, fire, water, earth, and lightning are the 5 basic elements. N release and Yang release are special attributes. Drawing himself back from his memories, Shinyu asked, "So, does that mean spiritual energy is N release and physical energy is Yang release?" "That's a common misconception among beginners," Madara replied, shaking his head and sipping his warm tea before continuing. N release is a special form of chakra, refined by blending spiritual energy with a portion of Yang. Yang release is similar in that way. What sets them apart is that the ratio of N and Yang is something you're born with. It can't be acquired later, unlike the 5 elemental releases. He gazed out the window, his voice growing quiet. For someone born with N release, gaining the power of Yang release is almost like rewriting one's own fate. Shinyu fell into deep thought. Madara's words suddenly opened his mind, as if the fog before his eyes had been swept away. The manifestations of the 5-element escape techniques are easily distinguishable, but the techniques based on N and Yang release are mostly secret, inherited jutsu. For instance, medical ninjutsu, the Akimichi clan's multi-size technique, and the Senju clan's monstrous strength. All these skills, closely tied to physical prowess, are outward expressions of Yang release. On the other hand, abilities linked to mental power mostly fall under N release. The Nara clan's shadow manipulation, the Yamanaka clan's mind transfer technique, as well as dojutsu like the Byakugan and Sharingan. All these showcase the characteristics of N release. One could say that spiritual energy is an indispensable component of N release, and the strength of N release often determines the level of dojutsu abilities. A new light gradually appeared in Shinyu's eyes. The once blurry ideas from the past were now, bit by bit, coming into sharp focus. At that moment, Madara tapped his fingers on the table. The source of power for taijutsu is physical energy. For jinjutsu, it's spiritual energy. But whether it's taijutsu or jinjutsu, neither can exist without chakra. I imagine you've realized this by now, haven't you? Shinyu nodded in understanding. Ninjutsu, taijutsu, and jinjutsu were fundamentally different schools of power and could not be lumped together. In the original timeline, there was a reason why Kisame's Great Shark Bullet, an attack that absorbed chakra, lost to Might Guy's 7th Gate Daytime Tiger. This was precisely why. Madara took a sip of tea and continued. As for that 8 Gates technique book, it's a formidable taijutsu secret. The stronger your body, the greater its power. But it takes years of relentless training to master. Shinyu nodded. He knew this well. The first step to learning the 8 Gates was to build up stamina, temper the flesh and bones, and undergo extreme, grueling, and prolonged training that pushed past one's limits. Only in this way could every part of the body adapt to the crushing burden when the gates were opened, minimizing the devastation that such overwhelming power would wreak upon the body. The food arrived, and the two began their meal. It wasn't until the tea had cooled that a stumbling figure finally appeared at the edge of their vision. To their surprise, Uchiha Ikari had truly followed them all this way. Her breathing was slightly labored, an unhealthy flush coloring her pale cheeks, the look of someone only just recovering from illness and already at her limit. Clutching the doorframe for support, she stepped into the shop, shuffling over weakly. Where did this beggar come from? The moment the waiter spotted her, Impatience flashed in his eyes. Tattered clothes, disheveled hair, barefoot, no less. Anyone would immediately associate her with the word beggar. Shoo, there's nothing for you here. What bad luck. If the boss sees you, I'll have my pay docked again, he snapped, waving her away without a hint of courtesy. Madara looked up and was about to rise, but Shunyu, who had been watching the situation unfold, stood up first. She's with us, Shunyu said, placing a reassuring hand on the waiter's shoulder, wearing a harmless smile. And so, Uchiha Hikari took a seat at their table, staring intently at Madara, her large, hopeful eyes occasionally flickering to the food. Her stomach rumbled in protest. Go ahead and eat, Madara said coolly. She wasted no time, devouring the food with both hands, sushi in her left, a drumstick in her right, piling her mouth full in a whirlwind of clattering dishes. Her ravenous eating made the other patrons frown. One by one, they picked up their stools and edged further away. Poor child. How long had she gone hungry like this? With a sigh, Shunyu pushed a cup of tea toward her. Uchiha Hikari wasted no time, seizing the teapot and guzzling down mouthfuls in quick succession. She gulped the tea noisily. Have you decided to come with us? Madara picked up his teacup and asked softly. Uchiha Hikari paused for a moment, her cheeks puffed out with food. She nodded vigorously, then went right back to devouring her meal. That's all it took to win her over? Shunyu gazed at Madara with admiration, while a scatterbrained thought drifted through her mind. Of course, the cool and aloof older man is always the ultimate weapon to win over little girls. After they'd eaten and drunk their fill, Madara stood up, fixing Shunyu with a sharp, unwavering stare. Shunyu felt a chill run down her spine under his gaze. Did you bring any money? Madara's low voice rumbled across the table. Shunyu swallowed, suddenly realizing something. Lord Madara, do you not have any money on you? You're the one who dragged me in here. I never intended to eat or drink at this place. All the other diners turned to look at them in unison. Shunyu felt thoroughly embarrassed. She raised her head and whispered, do we have to pay for our meal? Do I look like some kind of thug to you? Madara cocked his head, giving her a bemused look. Uchiha Hikari wiped her mouth, her big, bright eyes blinking with curiosity as she tilted her head too. Shunyu glanced at the two of them, their features and hairstyles so strikingly similar that a few cartoonish sweat drops seemed to slide down her forehead. Lord Madara, if I may ask. Go on. Is there any chance you two are related by blood? Of course not. Why would you think that? Madara frowned. It's just you look so much alike. Shunyu waved her hands in the air, gesturing wildly. The hair, the expressions, even the way you dress, it's all nearly identical. Really? As soon as she said this, both Madara and Hikari looked at her with round, puzzled eyes, mirroring each other. Absolutely. Shunyu nodded furiously. It's just a coincidence, Madara said nonchalantly. Oh, and find some time to get her a new outfit. She stands out too much as she is. And one more thing, don't forget to settle the bill. From this day on, the three of us are the new Uchiha clan, Madara announced to the two children before him. So where are we going next? Uchiha Hikari asked softly. Madara gazed up at the vast sky, his expression inscrutable. To the ends of the earth, wherever fate takes us. Shunyu clutched her flat, empty wallet and looked up at the sky as well, her face full of dismay. 2 days later, somewhere within the land of Taki, a thunderous crash. Two gigantic arms collided with a force that whipped up a fierce gale. One arm was as deep blue as the sea, the other pitch black as ink. Their overwhelming, tumultuous power was unleashed without restraint, threatening to destroy everything in their path. Madara and N.A.N faced each other across the distance, their two enormous Susanoo standing tall and imposing, each activating the first stage of their power. Around them, splintered wood and chaotic debris littered the ground, the earth scarred with deep gouges, a scene of utter devastation. Not bad. Your speed is certainly impressive, Madara said, folding his arms as he commanded his Susanoo to launch a powerful punch. When I was your age, I couldn't have managed such feats. With a thunderous crash, the black Susanoo raised its arm, blocking the forceful blow. A fierce gale whipped around them as dark energy surged, swiftly forming a second set of arms that wrapped tightly around Madara's Susanoo, pinning it in place. Despite the compliment, N.A.N's expression grew even more serious. The intensity of battling Madara demanded his full attention, beads of cold sweat gathering on his brow. You flatter me, Lord Madara. I still have much to learn. Deep within the lush, dense forest, a massive waterfall hung, suspended from a cliff. The rushing river cascaded down with tremendous force, plunging into the pool below, sending up a curtain of spray and 1,000 sparkling droplets. Beneath the waterfall, a small figure soaked in the pool, bare and unburdened. A fresh set of clothes lay neatly folded on the riverbank. The cool river water flowed inch by inch over her fair, delicate body. In the dappled shade beneath the trees, her skin shimmered with the soft, warm luster of polished jade. Uchiha Hikari lifted her slender wrist, scooping up a handful of water and pouring it over her head. The coolness seeped into her scalp, and she let out a long, contented sigh. She had been sealed away for so many years. The heavy, clinging smell of earth and dampness had become unbearable, even to herself. At last, she could wash it all away today. Outside the pool, a heavy thudding echoed at intervals, each impact making her heart tremble in her chest. She paid it little mind. After 2 days together, she had already grown accustomed to her new companion's way of life. The two of them fought almost every day. To call it fighting was perhaps misleading. It was more like a form of sparring, a training in which the man carefully controlled his strength while pushing the boy to improve day by day. So that technique is called Susanoo, is it? She tilted her head, her bright eyes sparkling with curiosity and a hint of eager anticipation. She scooped up the crystal-clear water, watching it trickle through her fingers. The cool sensation crept over her skin, and in the dappling sunlight, her slender arms gleamed like translucent jade. A new life, it truly has begun. A week later, Shuriken cut through the air with a sharp whistle, 3 blades flying in a triangular formation. They clashed midair, sending sparks flying before scattering in different directions. With a series of solid thunks, each shuriken embedded itself into a separate tree trunk, every one striking a falling leaf dead center. Kamehane slowly lowered his hand, glancing at Uchiha Hikari at his side. In a quiet voice, he said, "Shuriken Jutsu is something we Uchiha excel at. I'm confident you'll reach this level very soon." Mitsuhide frowned slightly. "Can you be more specific? I don't understand what you're saying." Shinyu blinked, momentarily at a loss for words. After Uchiha Hikari joined the team, he was surprised to discover that his own fundamentals were not, in fact, the worst among them. By comparison, Hikari's fighting style was far more reckless. Whether it was because she had been sealed away too long, or her basics were lacking to begin with, she only knew how to unleash ocular techniques. As for taijutsu, she could barely manage the simplest moves, and her control over chakra or shuriken jutsu was downright crude. In this regard, she was not much different from Kawaki in the original timeline, capable only of wielding the power of the karma, but with abysmal basic training. Even Lord Madara could only shake his head, leaving behind a single remark. "Such elementary matters, Shinyu, I'll leave them for you to teach her." With that in mind, Shinyu cleared his throat and said, "To train in shuriken jutsu, you need sharp observation and good coordination. Since you have the Mangekyo Sharingan, your perception is naturally exceptional. What you need now is to make sure your movements can keep up with your thoughts. As for the technique for throwing shuriken." He pondered for a moment, then held up one finger, smiling. "Just do it however feels most comfortable to you. Go with your favorite way." Hikari's face was a picture of exasperation. "Is this really how Lord Madara taught you?" "You might have misunderstood. I wasn't actually taught by Lord Madara," Shinyu replied with a casual shrug. "To be honest, my basics are pretty weak too. Just a little bit better than yours, that's all." "You're lying." She frowned, keeping her voice calm. "You can precisely control the direction and landing point of hundreds of shuriken. Teach me how." "Well, it's all about regular, incremental practice, and sometimes sudden insights in moments of life and death. Of course, the experience and guidance of companions is also crucial." Hikari tilted her head, a look of puzzlement flickering in her eyes. "Moments of life and death. Ah, you see, back in the Warring States era, not everyone had the luxury of being a trump card, only brought out at decisive moments, like you," Shinyu said, shaking his head. "Most of us were just foot soldiers charging into battle. If you weren't good at killing your enemies, you became cannon fodder. For many people, their potential was only forced out in desperate situations. You bent to pick up a shuriken from the ground. On a chaotic battlefield, if your aim is off, you put yourself and your comrades in danger. Likewise, if you can't move freely on the water, you'll end up pinned down and drowned by the enemy." With a sharp whir, the shuriken sliced through the air, tracing a graceful arc around the two of them, before returning, swift as a swallow to its nest, landing back in front of Shinyu, spinning deftly on his fingertip. That's amazing. Teach me quickly." Hikari's eyes widened in delight, like a child discovering a favorite new toy. A simple trajectory calculation, factoring in wind direction, air humidity, and so on. Then whoosh, just like that, and bam, like this, Shinyu mimicked the motions with his hands, looking rather convincing. Guang clenched her small pink fists, a vein throbbing on her smooth forehead. "If you keep brushing me off, I'll kill you." Uh, Maybe you shouldn't be so aggressive. Memories of being dominated by Amaterasu flashed through Shinyu's mind, and his expression darkened. This is a task from Lord Madara. She met Shinyu's gaze, extending her small hand. Teach me. Now. Put your heart into it, she added firmly. Shinyu let out a long sigh. It seemed Madara was determined to wash his hands of all responsibility. Looks like your desire to grow stronger is even more intense than mine, Shinyu remarked. Do you really believe the Eye of the Moon plan could work? Not long ago, Madara had formally introduced them to his Eye of the Moon plan, laying out everything. The Rinnegan, the demonic statue of the Outer Path, the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, and the world-ending visual Jutsu, Infinite Tsukuyomi. According to Madara, these secrets were all inscribed on a stone tablet hidden in the basement of the Naka Shrine, left there by Uchiha's ancestor, Indra. Only those who possessed the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan could fully decipher its mysteries. These revelations had solidified Madara's convictions and charted the course he was determined to follow. But before taking action, Madara had decided to survey the state of the world, to judge whether Hashirama's methods had truly brought about peace. If this peace was only a facade, like Konoha's hollow acceptance of the Uchiha, then he would see his vision through and enact the Eye of the Moon plan without delay. If Lord Madara believes it's possible, then it must be, Guang replied coolly. Talk about unwavering confidence. Shinyu thought to himself with a silent sigh. He knew all too well that the so-called Infinite Tsukuyomi was nothing but a scheme devised by Black Zetsu to resurrect Kagaya Otsutsuki. The contents of the clan's tablet had long since been tampered with by Black Zetsu. Even Madara himself had become just another pawn in this grand manipulation. An ideal world, true peace. It was all an elaborate, all-encompassing lie. Black Zetsu, or rather, Kagaya's ultimate goal was to secure her power after resurrection, preparing for the arrival of the rest of the Otsutsuki clan. If Kagaya succeeded in returning, all of humanity will be transformed into white Zetsu by the divine tree. And if the Otsutsuki from beyond invaded, then all mankind would be reduced to mere nourishment for the divine tree, utterly devoured by the Otsutsuki. No matter which side prevailed, it would mean destruction for the world. The shinobi world now appeared peaceful, seemingly tranquil under the watchful eyes of Hashirama and Madara, these two titanic figures. Yet beneath the surface, countless dangers lurked. Gods of unknown origin, Black Zetsu pulling strings from the shadows, Hamura's descendants watching from the moon, and the Sage of Six Paths himself, observing from the Pure Land, casting his gaze upon the living world. And then there was that Otsutsuki Ishiki, the one who possessed the monk Sishien's body, lingered on for over 1,000 years, and whose ambitions stretched far beyond the horizon. There were simply too many uncertainties in the shinobi world. Yet even though Kamiyu knew all of this in advance, he couldn't speak a word of it. No one would believe him anyway, and speaking out would only put him in danger. For now, his only option was to quietly stay by Madara's side, growing stronger in silence, waiting for the right moment to seize the reins and take control of his own fate. As for lying low to bide one's time, nonsense. The true meaning is that a wise person hides their strength and acts only when the moment is right. These aren't things I should be worrying about right now, Guang suddenly said, a hint of melancholy flickering in her eyes. All I know is, if I can't get stronger, I'll just be a burden, and I'm bound to be cast aside. Afternoon. Uchiha Guang placed one foot on the tree trunk, channeling chakra into the sole of her foot. Taking a deep breath, she lifted her other foot up as well, aligning her body at a perfect 90-degree angle with the tree. She was training her chakra control and balance. From above, Kamiyu's voice drifted down. For shinobi, walking on trees or water is simply one way to use chakra. The principle is to alter the physical properties of the fibers at the soles of your feet with chakra, affecting the way hydrogen bonds interact. This increases the tree's grip on your foot. The real challenge is continuously adjusting your chakra flow as you move. With a determined expression, Guang managed 2 steps before losing her balance and tumbling down. She stood up, rubbing her sore backside, and looked up at the figure in the tree, her gaze wavering between exasperation and envy. Up in the branches, Kamiyu was perfectly upside down, feet anchored firmly beneath the limb, his black hair hanging downward in wild tufts. He looked as calm and natural as a wise old bat. Cradling a scroll in his hands, he replied offhandedly, "You're focusing too hard. My advice is to control your chakra in the most comfortable way for you. Picture yourself walking on flat ground. Let it gradually become instinct." Uchiha Guang took a deep breath, her expression resolute, and resumed her attempts. Kamiyu paid her no mind, his eyes never leaving the scroll in front of him. Spirit transformation technique. This jutsu separates one's spiritual energy from the body and materializes it as a stable spirit form for use in combat. Its effects surpass the bounds of ordinary ninjutsu. The spirit form carries the caster's consciousness, can fly at high speed, pass through any terrain, and ignore all physical attacks. Not only can it possess an enemy, shattering their mind from within, but can also invade another's mental world and forcibly control their body. Once this technique is mastered, the soul undergoes a unique transformation, granting an extraordinary, far-reaching sense of perception. With it, one can sense the spirits of others, no matter the distance or prior knowledge of their whereabouts. After turning into a spirit form, the user can instantly arrive at another's body. Depending on the circumstances and the user's intent, this technique can achieve many feats, such as transmitting information, verifying another's life or death, or even transferring chakra to them. Yet, it bears a fatal flaw. Whenever the spirit leaves the body, the physical vessel becomes extremely vulnerable to attack. If the body is lost, the spirit will quickly disperse and perish. This is exactly like the legendary projection of the N.A.N spirit. N.A.N nodded repeatedly, his resolve to master the technique growing ever stronger. The reason this is classified as an S-rank jutsu is because the threshold for cultivating the spirit transformation technique is exceptionally high. Practitioners must possess high-quality N release chakra, and even so, the act of letting one's soul leave the body is fraught with peril. Most lack the sheer willpower or courage to even attempt it. Just then, a shadowy figure landed atop a branch, prompting both of them to look up in unison. With his dark robes billowing and long hair cascading to his waist, a war fan and scythe slung across his back, it was none other than Uchiha Madara. "How goes your training?" "Not so great." Guang's tiny, palm-sized face lifted honestly as she pointed at N.A.N, making her report without a hint of hesitation. "He can't explain it clearly." "What the? Are you kidding me? You look so innocent and adorable, but you're throwing me under the bus right to my face?" N.A.N was caught completely off guard. Hooking one foot around the branch, he swung himself up to stand beside her. Lord Madara, her shuriken skills have improved a lot. If it's just a single shuriken, she can hit the mark every time now. It's only in chakra control that she still needs work." "He's not telling the truth. I simply can't grasp his methods." Guang persisted, her words sharp and unwavering. Cold sweat beaded on N.A.N's forehead. "Teach with more dedication," Madara said, casting him a sidelong glance. Absolutely," N.A.N replied, nodding nervously. But more importantly, he hastily tried to change the subject. "Lord Madara, did you gain anything from this trip?" "It was just a simple visit to an old friend," Madara replied with a hint of a cold smile. "Surveying the state of the people is destined to be a long journey. There's still a long road ahead of us." 5 years later, on a mountain plateau in the land of lightning. "Be careful. Don't look them in the eyes." 3 cloud ninja fled in desperation as the whoosh of projectiles filled the air. A hailstorm of shuriken, as dense as a swarm of bullets, forced them into a corner. Directly opposite them, standing atop a sandstone outcrop, a striking young man and woman dressed in high-collared black clothing stared down at them. In their eyes shone the mesmerizing blood-red gleam of the 3-tomo Sharingan, a gaze that could chill the soul. Beneath their feet lay the corpses of over a dozen cloud shinobi, sprawled in disarray. Charred bodies littered the ground, blood pooled into flowing streams, and the air was thick with the pungent stench of scorched flesh and iron. "Tell us where the Nine Tails is, and we'll spare your lives." The girl's voice was crisp and cool, tinged with impatience. "Otherwise, don't blame us for taking matters into our own hands." Her skin was pale as snow, made even more luminous by her jet-black hair. Her long, arched brows resembled crescent moons, and her exquisite, ethereal face was veiled in icy aloofness. Her bright eyes, clear as autumn water, held a cold, undisguised intent to kill. "You've gone too far," one of the cloud ninja shouted angrily. "Information about the Nine Tails is a secret of the hidden cloud village. How could we possibly tell you?" "So you're choosing death, then?" The girl lifted her gaze slightly. In an instant, her pupils shifted into a kaleidoscope pattern, dark markings swirling like 3 swallows gliding freely in the sky. A chill swept out with the sinister flow of chakra, sending shivers through all 3 cloud shinobi. "Damn Uchiha, are you trying to provoke a war between the hidden cloud and the Leaf Village?" The cloud ninja, who seemed to be their captain, stepped forward, teeth clenched. "You trespass on our lands, slaughtering our shinobi without restraint. Are you saying Lord Hashirama condones this?" "Watch your mouth. We have nothing to do with the Leaf Village." The speaker was the boy standing to the girl's left. He had the refined features of a noble youth, with dark, mid-length hair falling naturally around his face. Though a faint smile played at his lips, his eyes shone with an icy arrogance, radiating an almost overbearing presence. And don't mention that man's name in front of us. As soon as his words fell, his form flickered. Without warning, he vanished and reappeared at the center of the three-cloud ninja. A flash of light, an icy blue blade of chakra, swept through the air. Blood splattered, and ahead, its expression frozen in confusion, was sent flying toward the sky. What? Captain! The two remaining ninja cried out in shock, but their battle-hardened instincts kicked in. Even amidst their panic, they immediately retaliated, blades stabbing towards the boy's back and side. A crackling surge of lightning danced along their blades, a signature hidden cloud technique, the sonic thunderblade. At that moment, the boy puffed out his cheeks slightly. Fire style, hiding in ash technique. A billowing cloud of ash exploded, engulfing everyone in an instant. The ash carried a searing heat beyond imagination. The two cloud shinobi reflexively shut their eyes, but their throats were still scorched by the heat, leaving them coughing uncontrollably where they stood. One of the cloud ninja fought through the pain and tried to retreat in the opposite direction, only to be met by a crushing blow. An iron grip closed around his throat like a vice. Wind howled past his ears, and suddenly the air turned cool again, as if someone had pulled him from the suffocating cloud of ash. Instinctively, he opened his eyes, only to meet a pair of bright, uncanny Sharingan. Demonic illusion, puppet jutsu. As the three Tomo spun gently, his expression grew vacant, his mind slipping completely into the illusion. Meanwhile, from within the swirling dust, the sound of explosions erupted one after another, flashes of fire rippling outward like waves. Amidst a terrible scream, the dust scattered, revealing a charred corpse. Your body flicker technique is becoming more and more unpredictable, N.A.N, the girl called out as she leapt down, her black robes fluttering like a butterfly. You're not bad yourself. Your taijutsu and shuriken skills have both surpassed the level of most jonin, the boy replied with a slight smile, giving her a thumbs up. These two, boy and girl, were none other than N.A.N and Uchiha Hikaru, now accomplished in their training. And the reason for their presence here? Tell me where the Nine Tails is, N.A.N demanded. The cloud ninja, his face blank and bewildered, opened and closed his mouth. I don't know. How could that be? Didn't you hidden cloud people capture the Nine Tails 3 months ago? That mission ended in failure. We lost many comrades. The cloud ninja answered obediently. N.A.N's eyes shifted slightly. Who does know where the Nine Tails is? Only Lord Goldhorn and Lord Silverhorn might know. During the hunt, the Nine Tails swallowed them whole, but 2 weeks later, they returned unharmed, having gained the Nine Tails chakra. I see. N.A.N stroked his chin, then turned to Hikaru. Looks like we have a decision to make. What kind of decision? We could play it safe and return to report this to Lord Madara, leaving the choice to him. Or we could seize the moment, track down Goldhorn and Silverhorn, and extract the information ourselves before heading back. N.A.N extended a hand to Hikaru, offering him the choice. So what do you say? Would you rather stay anonymous, or make your name known across the land? I'll follow your lead. Hikaru fell silent, thoughtful. Goldhorn and Silverhorn. Are they that powerful? N.A.N spread his hands. From what I know, they're descendants of the Sage of Six Paths, able to wield his 5 legendary ninja tools with ease. And they each possess chakra on par with the tailed beasts. Now, having gained the Nine Tails chakra, they're bound to be even more formidable. But what worries me more is the hidden cloud village itself, he continued, his tone shifting. Those two have high status, practically part of the village leadership. If we barge in recklessly, we might cause Lord Madara a lot of trouble. So we just don't get caught, right? Hikaru raised an eyebrow at him, a hint of puzzlement in his eyes. Yet somehow, to N.A.N, that look carried a trace of provocation. I'm just stating the facts. If we're exposed, this could shake the entire ninja world. And if the Leaf Village catches wind of it, Lord Madara's plans could be jeopardized. N.A.N shot back with a glare. He couldn't help feeling a bit frustrated. He was already 13, yet he was still half a head shorter than Uchiha Hikaru. Guang thought carefully for a moment. I choose to make my name known throughout the world. Very well, then I'll risk life and limb for you. Just this once, Shenyu replied with a graceful clap of her hands. Wait a minute. Why am I always the one making the final decision? Come to think of it, it's been like this every time we carry out a mission. She finally realized what was happening. Why bring that up now? Within the land of fire, on a desolate plain, Uchiha rebound. A violent gale swept across the field, scattering dozens of leaf ninja like leaves in a storm, their formation collapsing as they crashed to the ground in droves. For several hundred meters ahead, the wild wind had raised the land flat. Uchiha Madara folded up his war fan and looked off into the direction of the Hidden Leaf Village. His cold gaze gradually softened. Now, Hashirama will have no choice but to act. After 5 years of wandering, he had traveled almost every corner of the ninja world, whether in great nations or small, any country. With a hint of strength, was now following Senju Hashirama's model, establishing their own ninja villages, one after another. But he had also come to see, with growing clarity, that this so-called peace was no more than duckweed floating on a still pond. The moment someone disturbed the surface, chaos would erupt, sending up endless frothy waves. On the surface, the ninja world seemed stable, but nearly every village was secretly building up its power. Some nations were even requesting funding from their feudal lords, quietly stockpiling troops, their swelling ambitions all too clear. This so-called peace is built merely on Hashirama's overwhelming strength. The moment that power's gone, this flimsy peace will shatter in an instant. As time passed, Madara's conviction in this belief grew stronger. Especially after the first Mizukage, upon learning that Madara had left the leaf, slyly invited him to join the Hidden Mist. That only cemented his view. Hashirama, you were wrong. As long as people exist, so too will conflict. He was now utterly disillusioned with Hashirama's way. Thus began the Eye of the Moon plan. The first step, awaken the power of the Rinnegan. According to the stone tablet's inscription, he first needed to obtain Hashirama's cells, to unite the powers of Indra and Azura. Only then could he awaken the Yin-Yang release and open those legendary eyes. There was no avoiding a battle with Hashirama. Thinking back to his crushing defeat last time, Madara resolved that before their final showdown, he would first capture the strongest of the nine-tailed beasts to make up for his own lack of stamina in a prolonged fight, and perhaps to improve his odds of victory. Ahem, or to guard against that sly Tobirama. That, too, was why Shan Yu and Guang now found themselves in the Land of Lightning. The second step, use the Rinnegan to summon the demonic statue of the Outer Path, the empty husk of the 10 tails. The third step, gather all 9-tailed beasts, resurrect the 10 tails, and then use the 6 paths, 10 tails coffin seal to become its Jinchuriki. He foresaw that awakening the Rinnegan would be a long and arduous journey, and also anticipated that after his battle with Hashirama, he might lose his ability to fight. Because of this, Shinyu and Uchiha Mitsu had become crucial to his plans. With this in mind, he devoted himself to cultivating the two of them, preparing them to inherit his ideals. In the days to come, these two would act in his name, and before he awakened the Rinnegan, they would gather the 9-tailed beasts under his command. The final step would be to harness the power of the Sage of 6 Paths, draw close to the moon, awaken the Rinnegan Sharingan, and unleash the infinite Tsukuyami. Through this, he would control every person in the world, bring about unification, and create an everlasting peace within a dream. Once infinite Tsukuyami was cast, the divine tree would descend, sealing everyone in the world within cocoons upon its branches. Their bodies would be nourished by the tree, ensuring they would not die. Their souls would remain eternally trapped within the illusion of infinite Tsukuyami, each person living in the perfect world of their own dreams. It would no longer matter what was real or false. Sunlight would bathe the earth, and the world would fall into a profound stillness. No more war, no more smoke and fire. And as for Madara himself, he would become the lone guardian, bearing the weight of this eternal solitude. Meanwhile, in the Land of Lightning, the two who had decided to make a move against the Gold and Silver brothers were ready. Make sure to protect me at all costs. Once my soul leaves my body, I'll be incredibly vulnerable. A single touch would be the end of me. Inside a secluded mountain cave, Shinyu fixed Uchiha Mitsu with a serious look, repeating his warning. First, I'm not deaf. Second, I'm not stupid. And third, this is the 4th time you've said that. Mitsu replied, his patience clearly wearing thin. The cave was dimly lit, and the captured cloud ninja stood nearby, his face blank and expressionless. It's not strangers I'm worried about, to tell the truth. Are you going to act or not? All right, I'm on it. Shinyu raised his hand in mock surrender. Their plan was straightforward. Since they intended to target the Gold and Silver brothers, there was no way to do it openly. The Cloud Village was powerful and well defended. Striking at 2 of its top leaders within its own walls would be sheer recklessness. So, the best strategy was to set an ambush in advance and lure their targets in. This would also avoid the risk of being discovered sneaking in a Cloud Village. As for how to draw them out, Spirit Transformation Technique. Shinyu took a deep breath and formed the hand seal. As his eyes closed, a faint, ethereal version of his own body slipped free from the crown of his head. He glanced at his translucent hands. Now in spirit form, his senses expanded dramatically, and a sense of freedom washed over him, relaxing him from the inside out. Every time he performed the spirit transformation technique, he felt an irrepressible urge to soar unbound between heaven and earth, gazing down on the world from above. Meanwhile, his physical body simply stood in place, breathing evenly, his expression peaceful, as if he had drifted into a deep and tranquil sleep. He didn't hesitate. His spirit form dove down, and in an instant, it plunged straight into the Cloud Ninja's forehead. He found himself in a vast ocean of swirling colors, a world awash with fantastical hues. This was the Cloud Ninja's inner realm, his spiritual world, or perhaps his state of mind. He glanced around and quickly spotted the manifestation of the Cloud Ninja spirit. It sat at the very center of the space, eyes closed in deep slumber, clearly still trapped within Kamaha's illusion. Though he was the master of this place, now he was like a lamb waiting for slaughter, neck bared and helpless. Approaching the Cloud Ninja's spirit, he summoned a shimmering, twisted light in his palm and gently pressed it to the other's brow. It's worth mentioning that when Kamaha's soul left his body, his spirit form retained the properties of his own Mangekyo Sharingan. This meant that as long as he drew upon spiritual energy, he could cast illusions at will. In other words, once he entered an enemy's mental world, his Genjutsu would land with absolute certainty. The opponent's very mind became his domain. What's more, with just a light touch on the enemy's spirit, he could extract any information he wished, a soul-searching technique so effective it rendered traditional interrogation unnecessary. The peculiar combination of Uchiha blood and the spirit separation technique created an effect far greater than the sum of its parts. Of course, all this depended on the enemy's soul being weaker than his own or already in a dormant state. Otherwise, even this spirit technique carried the risk of backlash. Soon, Kamaha finished gathering the intelligence he needed, a sly smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. Back in the real world, under Uchiha Hikari's watchful gaze, the Cloud Ninja's fingers twitched slightly. Then, he slowly opened his eyes. "Long live Lord Adura," the Cloud Ninja declared, his tone unexpectedly lively. Only then did Uchiha Hikari relax. This was the secret code they'd agreed upon in advance. If Kamaha failed to take control, she'd know instantly and could react without delay. Though the odds of failure were practically non-existent. Kamaha flexed his new body a bit. "From what I know, Kinkaku is fiercely protective of his brother. If anything happens to Ginkaku, he'll fly into a rage. So, I'll ambush Ginkaku, and, at that moment, you use your eye technique to restrain Kinkaku. That's how we succeed." The two of them went over the plan one final time. "Don't forget my signal. Those brothers aren't fools. If we mess this up, there won't be another chance," Kamaha cautioned. "I know. You be careful, too." "Oh, careful of what?" Kamaha blinked innocently. "Careful not to get caught and mess up Lord Madara's plan," Hikari replied, turning her head away so she wouldn't have to look at him. The man before her had changed both his face and his voice, but his eyes still sparkled with that same mischievous, slightly roguish glint. Utterly exasperating. Shinyu tapped his temple and said, "Relax. I've memorized this guy's speech patterns, little habits, and mannerisms inside out. No one will see through me. Besides," seeing Guang hesitate, he gave a reassuring smile. "I'll be careful. I'm not worried about you." Guang's delicate cheeks flushed a shade of pink. Just as she was about to retort, Shinyu activated his body flicker technique and vanished in a flash. The hidden Cloud Village, under the jurisdiction of the Land of Lightning, was founded by the First Raikage and was known as one of the strongest combat-driven ninja villages, even among the 5 great shinobi villages. Perched atop sky-piercing peaks, the village was perpetually shrouded in misty clouds, with deafening thunder echoing day and night. But what outsiders admired most was the village's unparalleled unity. Everyone, from top to bottom, stood as a single, unbreakable force. This, however, also bred an intense insularity. They were fiercely wary of outsiders. In the original timeline, the Hidden Cloud was the only one of the 5 great villages never to have produced a rogue ninja for the Akatsuki. Borrowing the body of a cloud ninja named Omoi, Shinyu slipped in seamlessly. Armed with information etched in his mind, he wound his way through the village's twisting paths. It looked aimless, but in truth, he was quietly drawing closer to a particular destination. He was heading for the residence of the Gold and Silver Brothers. After triple-checking that no one was watching, Shinyu finally stepped through the gates. The moment he entered, he put on a look of wild panic, stumbling headlong toward the inner courtyard. "My lords, I have urgent news to report." "Where's Lord Ginkaku? Where's Lord Kinkaku? I have urgent news." With a loud crash, the main doors were shoved open, and a burly figure sauntered out. Making such a racket at midday, Ginkaku emerged, bleary-eyed and yawning. But when he saw Shinyu's face, his expression quickly soured. "Omoy, so it's you, Brad. If you woke me for something trivial, watch out. I might just end you." He shook his head, his silver hair glinting under the sun beneath horns like those of a wild bull. Shinyu quickly took in the sight. On Ginkaku's cheeks were 3 symmetrical whisker marks. He frowned inwardly. So the rumors were true. These brothers had really obtained the Nine Tails chakra. Lord Ginkaku, who we found traces of the Nine Tails. What? Ginkaku's eyes went wide. In a single bound, he was right in Shinyu's face. Say that again. We encountered the Nine Tails during our mission. It seemed out for revenge against Hidden Cloud, and it attacked us head-on. Shinyu's eyes widened in feigned terror, his voice trembling. Everyone but me was killed. Ginkaku seized Shinyu by the collar, as if he were a helpless chick, and, with Shinyu in tow, stormed straight through another door. "Goldhorn, wake up. That beast has actually come back for revenge." But Goldhorn wasn't napping at all. He seemed to be deep in chakra refinement training. The moment Silverhorn burst in, Goldhorn opened his eyes, and the wild surge of chakra around him gradually subsided. He rose to his feet with deliberate slowness. To Shinba's surprise, this man was even more imposing than Silverhorn. His long, dark gold hair hung loose and beneath. His thick, corded muscles surged with raw vitality. Paired with those 2 menacing, vertical horns, he looked every bit the human incarnation of a savage beast. Can you believe it? That beast actually came back to take revenge on us. Silverhorn let out a laugh, brimming with excitement. At that moment, Goldhorn's authoritative gaze swept over to them. "Omui, are you sure it was the Nine Tails?" Shinba nodded eagerly, his voice tinged with the relief of a survivor. "It was the Nine Tails. He just gave a casual swipe with his claws, and all my comrades were dead. I already went to see Lord Rakage, but it seems he doesn't want to invest any more people or resources in this matter. He just ordered us to comfort the families of the fallen, saying it was for the village's long-term good. That guy really is slow on the uptake." Silverhorn spat onto the ground in contempt. "Silverhorn, whatever else you say, he's still our Rakage. Sometimes he's not wrong," Goldhorn reminded him. "But Yajetsu, Byakumo, and Seru, they're all dead," Shinba said in desperation. "Sirs, are you telling me that even you won't avenge them?" His expression was animated, but inwardly, he remained perfectly calm. According to Omui's information, Goldhorn and Silverhorn hadn't always seen eye to eye with the first Rakage. Though their conflict hadn't reached the point of open hostility, they often clashed on certain issues. If the first Rakage was the peace-seeking, broad-minded dove, then these brothers stood firmly as hawks, advocating force and aggression. What's more, among the list of the fallen he'd just mentioned, that ninja from the Yajetsu clan was one of Gold and Silverhorn's most trusted lieutenants. Just then, Silverhorn clapped him reassuringly on the shoulder. "Don't worry, we'll definitely avenge our comrades. Goldhorn, let's head out now. A mere taste of its flesh granted us such power. Imagine," he flashed a sly grin. "Aren't you curious what the full power of the Nine Tails would be like?" "But what about the Rakage?" Goldhorn hesitated for a moment, then, seeing the eager look in Silverhorn's eyes, finally nodded. "Fine. With just the 2 of us, we can capture the Nine Tails alive this time. Once it's done, the Rakage will have nothing to say." Omui, lead the way. Somewhere in the wild mountains of the Land of Lightning, Shinba hurried ahead, guiding Gold and Silverhorn as the wind roared past, and the landscape raced by on either side. Along the way, the brothers chatted idly. "That beast sure is a talkative one, isn't he? Last time I didn't get a chance to use my ninja tools. This time, I can put them to work. Kin, I'm still not too familiar with my tailed beast transformation. In that case, let me take the lead. Once you're halfway transformed, you'll lose consciousness, so I'll leave the ninja tools for you to handle." As he spoke, Kin vomited out a miniature Basho fan and 7-star sword, handing them over to Jin. With just a few simple exchanges, the brothers had already laid out their strategy for dealing with the Nine Tails. Their tacit understanding was clear as day. There were several moments when Shinba nearly unleashed his spirit, wanting to break directly into the mind of either Kin or Jin to extract their secrets. But after careful thought, he managed to suppress the urge. After all, these 2 were descendants of the Sage of 6 Paths. Even after being swallowed whole by the Nine Tails, they remained undigested, and had even bitten back, devouring part of the beast's flesh themselves. If their souls harbored any unique properties, there would be no way to recover if things went wrong. In the original timeline, they'd even slain both the second Rakage and second Hokage, a record to be reckoned with. Attacking them rashly would almost certainly end in disaster. To be safe, he decided to stick to the plan. Soon, the three of them crossed several mountains and arrived at a mist-shrouded canyon. My lords, this is where we encountered the Nine Tails. Shinba called back over his shoulder. Kin and Jin stopped at once. Their eyes landed on the many fallen cloud ninja, their brows knitting into deep furrows as they stepped forward to investigate. The bodies were torn beyond recognition, limbs ripped apart as if shredded by razor-sharp claws. The stench of blood hung thick in the air, so strong that Jin wrinkled his nose in disgust. So, this is where you fell, Yajetsu. Jin had found a pale, severed head. Kin frowned slightly. Strange. I can't sense the Nine Tails chakra anywhere. Omoy, when was the last time you saw the Nine Tails? At this distance, we should be able to sense it. Suddenly, in a blur, a brilliant blue blade pierced Jin's chest from behind, his hot blood gushing freely. Ah, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you both, Shinba whispered softly into Jin's ear, pressing close against his back. Omoy, Jin's eyes widened in shock, a mouthful of blood spilling out, his heart pierced straight through. In a flash, Shinba withdrew his hand, quick and precise, as if retrieving something from a bag. The next instant, Kin, burning with fury, lunged forward with the force of a thunderclap, his roar echoing like rolling thunder. How dare you harm Jin? Omoy or not, you'll pay with your life. With hair bristling and veins bulging, Kin seized Shinba's arms in a crushing grip. In a burst of raw power, Shinba, or rather, Omoy, was torn violently in two, his shattered organs scattering like crimson rain. Thud, 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 thud. A rapid series of explosions erupted at their feet, blanketing the valley in thick, swirling white smoke. It turned out that, at the last possible moment, Kameha had thrown all of his smoke bombs. Damn it, damn it, damn it. I'll kill you. I'll slaughter everyone. Kinkaku's breath came in wild, animalistic gasps, and the air around him began to surge and twist. Deep red-tailed beast chakra tore through his skin, seeping out in jagged streams and enveloping his entire body. The reverse scale of the dragon. Touch it, and you court certain death. For Kinkaku, Ginkaku was his reverse scale. Now, witnessing his brother's death with his own eyes, he could no longer restrain the hatred boiling within him. His lust for blood and destruction surged to new heights. Tailed beast chakra was inherently violent and difficult to control. Even descendants of the Sage of Six Paths were no exception. Now, Kinkaku was utterly consumed by rage. The last vestiges of his reason were swallowed by the beast's will. With a violent surge, his chakra exploded outward. Furious winds swept away most of the lingering smoke, and even the ground beneath his feet began to crack and break under the overwhelming force. He threw his head back and let out a thunderous roar. Kinkaku had already taken on a half-beast form. 6 long, crimson tails lashed menacingly behind him. With a swipe of his razor-sharp claws, he tore the smoke apart. But just as he charged forward out of the haze, he found himself locked in the gaze of a pair of blood-red Mangekyo Sharingan. A devastating, bug-level Jinjutsu had been lying in wait for him. Tsukuyami. The sudden assault caught Kinkaku completely off guard. Driven mad by rage, he was instantly ensnared. His eyes glazed over, his body went limp, and he dropped to the ground like a marionette with its strings cut, sliding to a stop at Uchiha Hikari's feet. Hikari staggered, her face instantly turning pale. Subduing Kinkaku had drained her both physically and mentally, and blood trickled down her cheek. Kinkaku's consciousness was now hopelessly trapped in the illusory world of Tsukuyami, unable to escape. That went surprisingly well, came Kameha's voice from the side. He patted Hikari on the shoulder. Are you alright? When Kinkaku had killed Omoy with his bare hands, Kameha's spirit had already slipped away moments before, returning to his own body. I didn't expect that guy to drain so much of my chakra, Hikari replied, clutching her left eye and breathing heavily. We shouldn't waste any time. Let's interrogate him now. Suddenly, a flash of white light shot through the thinning smoke. Kameha's pupils contracted as he yanked Hikari's body behind him and instantly unleashed his Mangekyo. An inky black skeletal armor wrapped around him, shielding them both. A harsh metallic clang rang out, a jarring, bone-chilling sound. Kameha, clad in Susanu's unyielding protection, stood firm as a massive, silvery blade was knocked high into the air, spinning before it landed back in someone's waiting hand. Ginkaku. At this moment, a wine-red cloak of tailed beast chakra shimmered over his body, 6 long tails swaying freely. Unlike Ginkaku, however, his chakra appeared semi-transparent, and his eyes sparkled with a lively cunning, showing no sign of losing his reason. A tailed beast chakra cloak. Kamaba narrowed his eyes and gave a mocking smile. So it's you, not your brother, who has truly mastered the Nine Tails' power. The Tailed Beast Chakra, Cloak, is a subtle technique, borrowing the Tailed Beast Chakra without fully transforming into the beast itself. In this state, the shinobi retains full self-awareness, with all abilities greatly enhanced. The Tailed Beast Chakra even heals wounds, leaving barely a scar behind. It's a formidable power on the battlefield. In the original timeline, this was the signature move of Killer Bee, the so-called perfect Jinchuriki. That's exactly why I'm still alive, isn't it? Ginkaku tilted his head with a sly grin and pointed at his chest. Ah, so is you bastard who ambushed me. That slash hurt like hell. The ground beneath his feet split open in an instant. His entire figure became a blur of crimson, launching himself forward. He moved so fast that the seven-star sword in his hand appeared as nothing more than a streak of silver light. But Kamaba matched his speed. Out of thin air, a giant skeletal hand appeared and smashed Ginkaku straight into the rocky wall at the side. A thunderous crash echoed through the area. Dark energy coiled and surged. Another skeletal hand sprouted from the black ribs surrounding Kamaba, both fists pounding down relentlessly. The stone wall exploded under the blows, sending dust billowing into the air. This was the initial form of Susanoo, a manifestation that could be used for attack, defense, protection, and control. Beyond its famed defensive power, even its arms alone wielded immense strength. With just a few punches, Kamaba had carved a small cavern into the rock. Hikari was stunned by the display, her eyes filled with envy at such power. She couldn't understand why. Though she had awakened the Sharingan even earlier than Kamaba, she had yet to manifest her own Susanoo. As Kamaba commanded Susanoo to withdraw its fists, he suddenly noticed a length of golden rope wound around the skeletal wrist. What's this? Kamaba's eyes flashed with surprise. Just then, Ginkaku burst out from the dust-filled hollow, gripping the other end of the golden rope. Swinging up to the mountainside like an agile gibbon, he landed with ease. His robes and armor were tattered, and bruises marked his forehead and arms, but otherwise, he was unharmed. Those mountain-shattering fists had only left him a little disheveled. Any ordinary ninja would have been reduced to a pulp. With the golden rope still looped around him, Kamaba sensed something amiss. Without hesitation, he dispelled Susanoo's skeletal arm and formed a new one in its place. Sharingan, Uchiha, are you for Konoha? Ginkaku rested the seven-star sword on his shoulder, looking down at them from above. The thick golden rope wound itself automatically around his arm. Light, do we have a chance? Kamaha asked in a low voice, not even turning his head. Uchiha Hikari shook her head. No, this guy keeps avoiding my gaze. Kamaha frowned slightly. Ginkaku was extremely cunning. Whether in battle or during a standoff, he never met their eyes, leaving them no opening to cast a genjutsu. Be careful. That rope is dangerous. It should be the amber rope I told you about. Don't let it touch you, he warned carefully. Hikari nodded cautiously in response. The amber rope. Anyone it touches will be forced to utter the words they use most frequently in their life. These words, known as kodadama, are the essence of one's most spoken expression since birth. The seven-star sword, too, was not forged merely for slashing. Its true purpose was to sever a person's kodadama and lay a curse upon them. And that red gourd could record and seal away a person's kodadama. If the victim utters the keyword, stays silent for too long, or even says a word that merely sounds similar, the gourd will draw them in and seal them completely. Combined, these three tools are nothing less than weapons that bend fate itself. As for the other two legendary ninja tools, the Amber Purifying Pot is a gigantic jar that can seal away anyone who responds to the wielder's words. Even the rampaging Eight Tails couldn't resist its power. The Banana Palm Fan, on the other hand, can unleash all five basic elemental jutsu: fire, water, lightning, wind, and earth, regardless of the user's chakra nature, making it an unrivaled weapon of destruction. Looking at it closely, these two brothers possess both the raw strength and the legendary tools to rival Kaga-level powerhouses. Just then, Ginkaku grinned wickedly. So your silence is your answer, eh? His expression twisted with madness, the tailed beast chakra giving him a ferocious aura. You dare attack us, brothers? Unforgivable. I don't care who you are, get into my red gourd now. He tossed a gourd, 3 inches tall, into the air. It grew with the wind, expanding in the blink of an eye until it was taller than a person, which Ginkaku then clutched at his waist. Fire style, great fireball technique. Hikari struck first. After 5 years of training, she had mastered her fire-style jutsu. A massive fireball roared toward Ginkaku, but he sliced it in half with a single swing of his sword. You gotta be kidding. A jutsu like that won't even scratch me. Ginkaku leapt down from above, the seven-star sword aimed straight at Uchiha Hikari's head. A flash of silver splitting the air. Hikari dodged instantly, but Ginkaku feinted. His real target was elsewhere. With a swift movement, he charged toward another spot, exactly where Kinkaku was. He's trying to break the Jinjutsu on Kinkaku. Kama's eyes turned cold. In a flash, he appeared in front of Kinkaku, summoning the first stage of Susanoo. A pitch-black skeletal fist thundered forward, tearing through the air with a heavy, roaring wind. Draw it in, golden canopy rope. Silver Horn suddenly commanded. There was no expected fierce collision. Shinyu's eyes widened abruptly, his stomach heaving like stormy waves. Losing control of his body for a moment, the Susanoo skeleton around him flickered and faded, its ribs and arms shattering into wisps of dark smoke. His mouth opened involuntarily, and he expelled a milky blue radiance. This is my Kodadama. Astonishment filled his eyes. How is this possible? The golden canopy rope never even touched me. Curse, seven-star sword. Silver Horn whispered, the corners of his mouth curling in a sly, triumphant smile as he swung his sword down in a vertical arc. Shinyu, Uchiha Hikari called out anxiously. At the very last moment, Shinyu found strange calm. Leaning back slightly, he dodged the lethal blade, but the radiant glow he had spat out was sliced cleanly in two by the seven-star sword. Shinyu's expression turned grim. He thought he understood the sage of Six Paths' treasured tools well enough, but he'd still fallen into their trap. Silver Horn spun suddenly, sweeping the seven-star sword in a broad arc, forcing the two of them to retreat. Did you think you'd be fine as long as your body wasn't touched? If the golden canopy rope touches your chakra, your Kodadama will still be drawn out. Foolish brat. Silver Horn cackled, brandishing the crimson gourd. Seal it, crimson gourd. With a resonant pop, the floating blue radiance was instantly sucked into the gourd's mouth. Silver Horn raised the seven-star sword, and on its mirror-bright blade, Shinyu's Kodadama appeared. Lord Madara. Oh, Silver Horn arched an eyebrow, a look of interest sparking in his eyes. You saw my Kodadama, didn't you? Shinyu looked up, his two scarlet Mangekyo spinning with a cold light. If I'm not mistaken, it should be Lord Madara, right? In that instant, both Silver Horn and Uchiha Hikari stared wide-eyed. Silver Horn with delight, raising the crimson gourd at once, while Hikari was left stunned. Earlier, Shinyu had explained each of the Six Paths ninja tools wielded by the Gold and Silver brothers to Uchiha Hikari in detail. Yet now, contrary to expectations, Shinyu himself had rushed headlong into danger, as if forgetting everything he'd said. As expected, a look of panic spread across Shinyu's face. His body, as if losing all control, abruptly shot towards Silver Horn. But just as he reached the mouth of the gourd, the fingers of his left hand suddenly flared with sharp blue light, slashing towards Silver Horn's neck. Autumn dew on the leaf. What? Silver Horn could hardly believe his eyes. In a panic, he brought his sword up to block. There was a harsh metallic scrape as autumn dew sent a shower of sparks flying across the seven-star sword. Taking advantage of the opening, Shinyu seized the sword's spine, flipped acrobatically over Silver Horn's back, and gathered the blue radiance. Into his palm, the air whirled violently, accompanied by a deep, urgent hum, as a rapidly spinning chakra sphere materialized in his hand. Rasengan. With a single hand, Shinyu slammed the Rasengan into Silver Horn's back, his opponent's expression frozen in a mix of terror and shock. The swirling currents of wind expanded in all directions, and Silver Horn's body was hurled through the air by a tremendous torque, slamming him hard into the stone wall behind. Interesting. The destructive power isn't bad at all. Shinyu nodded with satisfaction. The power of Maharaga had granted him formidable learning ability. Besides, the Rasengan, an A-rank ninja technique, wasn't particularly difficult to master as long as one understood its principles and training method. In the original timeline, even Jiraiya needed only 3 days to master it. The real challenge lay in the extreme manipulation of chakra's form, forcing chakra to flow constantly in different directions and compressing it to create a high-density, rotating chakra sphere. Yet when it came to the study of chakra form manipulation, Shinyu far surpassed Jiraiya. His technique, dew on autumn leaves, which had even left Tobirama awed, was proof enough. So this signature jutsu of the original timeline's protagonist took Shinyu only a single day to master completely. Why? I clearly severed your Kodadama. Silver Horn was on the verge of losing his mind as he scrambled to his feet from the pile of rubble. Did you? I don't recall that at all, Shinyu replied with a dismissive smile. After his Kodadama had been absorbed by the red gourd, he activated his eye technique. With both Maharaga and Amit unleashed, he adapted to the golden rope and rewound his own state to just before he'd been touched by it. From the perspective of the entire timeline, he was intact at that moment, unaffected by any external force. This move effectively erased the fact that his Kodadama had ever been cut. It was a wise choice. The golden rope, 7-star sword, and red gourd. These 3 causality-based ninja tools all relied on the rope, extracting one's Kodadama as a prerequisite. So as long as he nullified the rope's effect, the other 2 were rendered useless as well. Damn it, what the hell is going on? Silverhorn raged on, but no one was about to give him an explanation. This was the world of Naruto, where information was invaluable. There is no such rule as technique disclosure, and Shinyu had no interest in explaining his techniques. Amaterasu. Guang seized the moment. A mass of pitch-black flames struck Silverhorn square in the chest. No! Feeling the uncanny heat, Silverhorn's eyes widened in shock. The deep red cloak of tailed beast chakra writhed wildly, gathering at his chest. Before Guang's astonished gaze, Silverhorn actually shed the tailed beast chakra from his body, letting it fall to the ground along with Amaterasu's black flames, where it was consumed into nothingness. He actually used this method to block Amaterasu's burning. Shinyu was surprised as well. After all, this was the same technique that Naruto had used to neutralize Amaterasu in the original timeline. So, this is the so-called inextinguishable flame? It's every bit as dangerous as they say. Silverhorn let out a deep, menacing laugh, his fierce gaze swiveling to Uchiha Guang. Looks like you're the one I need to take out first. Greetings, fellow cultivators. This is Piglet speaking. This section is not part of the main storyline and serves only as supplementary material for the setting of Susanoo. Readers who do not require additional background information may skip this section. Some readers may wonder about the terms I use in the story to refer to Susanoo, such as initial Susanoo, first stage Susanoo, and so on. Here, I'll standardize these terms for consistency. From now on, these will be the official references. The following is a summary of Susanoo's setting, compiled from the original work and various sources, combined with my personal interpretation. Susanoo forms. Principle. Susanoo is a high-output chakra and manifestation technique, where energy is materialized to form a dense chakra construct. The user transforms into a towering war god. For battle. As the user's ocular power increases, Susanoo evolves through distinct stages, representing the ultimate ocular jutsu that excels at both offense and defense. Initial Susanoo. This form manifests as ribs and an arm, which can be used for attack, defense, protection, and control. The user's body is not fully enclosed by Susanoo, leaving significant gaps, but the defensive power is already sufficient to withstand most attacks. First stage Susanoo. In this stage, Susanoo appears as a half-body skeleton, resembling a fearsome skull. The chakra envelopes the user completely, and its defensive power is further enhanced, though the feet remain exposed. Extremely powerful attacks can still break through its protection. At this stage, Susanoo can wield basic weapons such as ordinary swords, with attack methods limited to standard physical strikes. Second stage, Susanoo. Here, the form evolves into a half-body skeleton covered with muscle and sinew, cloaked in a mantle of chakra. The curse. Seals can be released, and the user gains access to unique weapons and ninja techniques, such as the Yata Mirror or a bow and arrow. This form of Susanoo offers optimal balance. Notable examples are Madara's dual-faced blue warrior and Sasuke's crossbowman, both frequently used, before they gain the power of the 6 paths. In this state, Susanoo can also unleash universal long-range jutsu, such as Yasaka Magatama. Third stage Susanoo, Crow Tengu. This stage features a half-body Susanoo enhanced with Crow Tengu armor, dramatically increasing its defensive strength and expanding its arsenal of weapons, including the Totsuka blade and the Sword of Totsuka. This form is immensely powerful, but consumes chakra at a staggering rate and is notoriously unstable. Ordinary Mangekyo Sharingan users struggle to maintain this form for long. It represents